Well, hello, hello. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. I'm Adriana Vela, certified AI consultant and certified AEO specialist. And I'm so glad to be here. I'm sure you saw the note that I just had before this slide, and that is to just clarify that this is not the live class recording. Something went wrong, fell through the cracks with so many things that I was dealing with at the time and your technical problems. But anyway, I'm re-recording this presentation. The content will be the same, and I just want promise to provide a recording. So I'm doing that, even if we don't have the audience. Thank you so much for your understanding. Now, I have a lot to cover today, and let me kick this off with this basically the status of where we are today. Today, AI engines decide what gets seen, what gets cited, and which businesses are trusted before a human eye lands on a land page. And if you really think about it, that's pretty amazing, right? Well, before we wrap up today, I'm going to show you how you can assess your own AI visibility and identify exactly what areas you need to focus on to make sure that your business is visible to AI engines. And having been through this and all the training and experience that I've built up, it is an eye-opening experience. So I think you're going to get blown away. Now, without further ado, let me get started. And let me move this. Just as a quick reminder who this is for, just want to make sure that we've got the right people here. And this is for leaders who want to be visible in the AI-driven world. It is for consultants and service providers who need to be known for their authority in their area, marketers who know that SEO is no longer enough, and brands who are losing visibility and rely on authority, creators who want their content to be chosen by AI engines, and website owners and designers and developers, because even though the public doesn't see their work on the internal side, they are critically important to ensure that your content management systems speak to AI in the manner in which they want to. And as far as the key takeaways, these are just a few. The visibility gap, you're going to know about the visibility gap of SEO and how to fix it, how to structure your content so that AI can find you. You're going to learn about the new rules of answer engines. You're going to leave here with the three-pillar strategy framework for AEO and a clear path to becoming AI discoverable. So there's this quote that I really love from Charlie Munger, a late Charlie Munger, who said, "Show me the incentives and I will show you the outcome." Now, it's been my experience throughout my professional career that two things have proven themselves to me true um, pretty much my whole life. One is follow the money because funding tells you where something is getting traction. And two, observe behavioral trends because they are the holders of clues as far as which way the wind is blowing. And while this sounds just perfectly natural and logical, you'd be surprised how many people don't really pay that much attention. And, or it's not that they're not paying attention or not able to pay attention. There really is just so much that we're all going through all the time that it's difficult to keep track. Well, I've done this again pretty much all my life. First it was instinctual when I was young, and but throughout the years I've dedicated a specific number of years delving into cognitive and behavioral neuroscience, and that's what makes me effective as a neuro AI architect. And I bring those skills into all the work that I do with my clients. So I broke this up into sections so that it makes it easier to follow because, again, there is a lot of content. I'm going to start with how AI engines actually choose answers. And the point of this is to demonstrate that being included in the answer that AI gives is now more valuable than being the top link in being the top blue link in SEO searches. But let's get some grounding here. What is AEO? Yes, I know that AEO, you probably know AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization, but that's not really what it is. What it is a practice. It's a practice of making your content the one answer that AI delivers to users' questions. It means that it has trusted you, it has understood what you have, and that it is directly relevant to what the users are asking. And this helps AI systems trust and recommend your brand when you set it up correctly. It means that when you do this, you are pretty much winning the zero click traffic, and that you are getting boosted and your brand is being mentioned. AEO does not aim for visibility in the same way that SEO does. It aims for selection. So it doesn't want to just give you, well, here's all the links that match your keywords that you're using. No, this AEO wants to select you as the answer. And that's why it's so effective. So if you came here thinking that, oh, SEO versus AEO, and let's see who wins, well, this is a nostalgic toy for me in the US, probably popular elsewhere. It's called Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Very apropos, don't you think? But this is not what we're going to see. This is not going to be about a battle. It really is about what are the differences between search engines and answer engines. And the fact that because they have different focuses and they go about it differently, it's about how you feed each one. Each one requires different food. Imagine having two kids that don't like the same kinds of food. And as a parent, you have to deal with it. So, this is something that we do have to contend. But once you do and you do it in the right way, you will reap so many benefits. And so that's where it's not choose one or the other. I want to emphasize that it's not, well, no longer do SEO because I'm going to do AEO. No, that's not true. And if you just bear with me, I'll show you why that is the case. All right. Today, 77% of ChatGPT users in the US treat AI as a search engine. And even though that was not, of course, its initial intention, and 60%, oops, when 60% actually use AI tools for shopping. Now, these are behavioral aspects based on a lot of research on how people use the LLMs. And if you notice that if 60% of people have been using it even for shopping, this is why OpenAI has launched their whole their e-commerce features into ChatGPT. More so now it's formal and it's correct, but 77% of people using ChatGPT as a search engine, and this is why there is a definitely ongoing trend that we need to figure out how is it that AI is providing answers? How is it looking at my business? So I also want to stress that, or I want to illustrate this. Think of yourself as this gentleman here, where you need to do some research or you're looking up something in particular, and you're doing traditional searching on Google, for example, and or Bing or any of the other ones. And all you get is a whole bunch of links. All right. Now, of course, the first links, the first page are all highly ranked, and that's great. However, it's not great in that it doesn't provide you the answer right away. You still have to go to the link and then go, and it has a lot of content, and somewhere in there is the keyword that you had in your query. Well, you find out after spending a while in a website searching from one place to another and following other links, you you realize hours have gone by because you went from one link to another, and that was just off of the first link that you tried from your search. And it's like, wow, that's really like falling down the rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland and never knowing really where you're going to end up. But bottom line is that it does take a lot of your time. Now, this is the person who is using LLMs as search, and he gets one answer, the answer that they were looking for, the answer that is most relevant to them. And it's such a joy because you didn't have to go down the rabbit hole. There's no rabbit holes, there's no Alice in Wonderland. You just get your answer. And boy, when somebody experiences that, why would they ever want to go do it the old way, the traditional way? So, this is what we've been finding out and what research has shown in terms of behavioral shifts. Now, because of that, it's also been measured that 64% of AI engines actually answer queries better than Google, and 58% of Google searches result in 0 clicks. And because people have caught on, they don't want to really go through all this clicking of links and spending a lot of time. And if they don't see the answer right away, well, they just move on. And this is why Google started with Google Overview and trying to give you some snippets. And, they're improving the way they're providing some answers, but they're not doing it the way AI would. So, unfortunately, most businesses don't realize or they don't have any idea as to how AI engines interpret their content and where their gaps are. And I'll have a surprise for you later on that. But moving on, let me just focus now on the visibility gap that SEO cannot fix. Now, you already saw how quickly behaviors have changed or how they've been establishing. Let's explore what this means now for your visibility. And what I'll do is I'll show you, uh, and I'm going to be demonstrating why being included in an AI answer is now more valuable than being the top blue link. So let's look at the core differences between SEO and AEO. SEO focuses on rankings. Again, that's what it shows you first on the first page. Whenever you do a search, you're going to get a lot of links, a lot of pages worth of links, but nobody goes through. You'd be lucky if a person goes to the second page. Usually they just select something from the first page and that's it. They go start digging there. AEO instead focuses on inclusion. And by inclusion, I mean selection. They are choosing the answer that best fits you, not which link comes the closest based on keywords. And so I'm going to touch on keywords here a little bit more. SEO is meant to drive traffic to your site. So if you rank high enough, of course, traffic will go to your site because they're searching for something that matches your keywords. AEO instead drives visibility and trust. So, because it focuses on getting you the right answer, it is therefore then engendering trust from the recipient of that answer. Say, okay, AI trusts this site. It provides citations, and I'll show you more of what that means. The third big difference is the keywords. SEO focuses on keywords, and but AEO focuses on the structure, the entities, and the clarity. If you don't have the right structure in your content, the right entities on your back end, which is the code, and I'll show you examples of that, and the clarity that will make it useful and easier to trust by the person receiving the answer, then you are not going to succeed. It's not going to include you. So structure is very important. And then the last one of these four major differences is that SEO helps you get clicks. So yes, if you rank high, if you do ads and all this stuff, it raise your ranking, you'll get clicks. It doesn't mean you get buyers. It doesn't mean that you get conversion. AEO helps you win citations as being part of the answer that somebody's looking for. If you are an authority in some area and you get cited by others who are offering something or articles or what have you, you will be picked up there as a trusted source. And that is very important. I'll emphasize that a little bit more later. But graphically, let me take you through this. I'm going to use my mouse over here. Yes, good. You can see my mouse. The users right here, they make a query, it goes into an LLM. The LLM, the first thing that they do is that they determine the intent of that search. It's not looking for keywords, it's looking for intent. Now, based on that intent, it in turn creates its own keywords, and it might use a lot of different things, the combination of, let's see, a location and in some some words that describe what your intent really is. And also because you can just tell it, hey, give me, based on my location, and it'll know how to get it, based on my location, what is the best Chinese food that is not too hot? And I also want it to be not super expensive and so forth. So it determines, it factors in everything. All right. It goes and looks at indexed sources, which these can come from SEO index sources in that way, like Google, and also other index sources that LLMs have picked up. I'll talk about indexability as well. And it also does a live search. It brings those two in and creates relevant sources from which it chooses, and then it crafts the answer, cites the sources, and gives the user the answer. I mean, it's beautiful. I hope this is simple enough to get how it works. And as you understand this more, you'll begin to appreciate why it is so much better and so much more effective. So now, what's happening on the search side is that Google would typically crawl sites all the time. For every two crawls that it did on your site, it would send you one new or healthy organic visitor or organic traffic. And this was pretty good, a ratio of 2 to 1. Well, nowadays, the reality is that it takes 6 crawls per visitor before Google sends you a new visitor. And that's 65% zero-click searches because you're only getting one new visitor. So the visibility is taking more to even get the attention, and you're getting, again, just one. So the ratio is thinning. And as an estimate looking forward based on trends and a lot of research, what we expect is that it's going to take even more crawls, maybe 8 to 12, which is a very heavy crawl load, to get not even one visitor, a part of a visitor. For some reason, the numbers show up, it's less than one. So, excuse me. The same thing goes for impressions. The green line is the impressions versus click-through rate. You used to have X number of impressions will give you a good click rate. Now, impressions continue to grow, and it requires a lot more impressions to even get a click rate or a click-through. And it's decreasing, as you can see here. The green is the click-through rate, and the purple is the impressions. And this is just looking at from May of 2024 to July of 2025, just a little bit over a year. And in terms of paid traffic, does it pay off basically? Well, this data here is from Google's very own console. And this was put together by SparkToro. Basically, in 2024, when you would do a search on Google, 41.5% resulted in a click. The rest of the 58.5% resulted in either nothing, which was 37.1%. It went nowhere. And 21.4% resulted in a different search. Maybe you realize that, oh, well, that was not the best way to search it, so they changed their search. But of those 41.5% that did click, 70.5% went to unpaid organic results. 28.5% went to YouTube, Maps, News, or other Google properties, and 1% went to paid traffic. That is just mind-boggling. I mean, here you go, you pay for traffic, and at best, you're going to get about 1%. Now, of course, this number could vary a little bit based on ad blocks or other things that get in the way. But in my opinion, just based on numbers like this, it doesn't pay off to you be paying for Google because you're getting less and less of a return, if you get any return at all. So these are the numbers that are important to really keep in mind as far as what's really going on. So this is why AI-driven traffic is now 5 times more valuable than Google's. And let me demonstrate this some more. Here are the findings of research on conversion analysis. So for lead conversions, Claude had 16.8% conversion rate, ChatGPT 14.2%, and Perplexity 12.4%. That is great conversion. Research was consisted of 12 million website visits across 350 businesses. AI traffic sessions, so how long people stay, how much do they stay in your site? Well, the views were 3.2 times more pages that they saw, and the time on each page was 4.1 times longer than Google. When it comes to which industries are really knocking it out of the park right now with AI search, SaaS companies have seen up to 8.5 times higher conversion advantage just from AI traffic. And customer quality, AI sourced customers have a 67% higher lifetime value. Why? Because from the get-go, they felt that they could trust your business. Why? Because AI does what it does to ensure that what they're recommending is a trusted business. So it brings you ahead of the game. And speed to purchase. AI visitors typically will purchase 73% of the time within the first session of or experience with you. Google visitors is 23%. And revenue per visit, another very, very important metric. So revenue per visit, AI search visitors have an average $47 of revenue per visit, and the Google is $9 average of revenue per visit. Again, it's well far ahead of the game. Now let's look at the framework that's called the brain framework, and you'll see why. But these are the core AEO signals and AI engines and what they reward. And this is important so that you can know what it is that you need to focus on. So first of all, the foundation of this blueprint or this framework is the AEO blueprint book. This is also the foundation of my training and my certification. The authors of this are Kasim Aslam, sorry, the Perry Belcher and Julian Lopez. These are really smart guys. They started doing AEO research or AI search research 2 years ago, and they've done millions of not transactions, but visits and tracking and validating and so forth. So to be able to understand what's going on. And they were pretty much so far ahead of the game that they were able to secure the company name AEO.co, which you'll see here at the bottom of the book. And I have to tell you, this is significant. It's huge. I don't know if everyone, grasps just how huge it is. Yes, they started 2 years ago, but we actually live in dog years now. And you haven't noticed with everything moving so fast because, well, 2 years ago now seems like decades ago. But the point of it is that this book provides a framework that highlights indexability, representation, and authority building as the three key fundamental areas for AI that AI looks for. I'm going to break those down for you some more, but just to show you and as a little bit of a proof of how fast things move, I was looking for AEO URLs, anything related to AEO, and of course there was nothing. But I received an email from GoDaddy saying AEOtech.com was available. And check this out. Oops. It's available, but it would cost me $10,895 to get that URL. So anyway, I thought that was hilarious, and hopefully you're laughing as well. But let me move on here. Now, the brain framework is consider this like your North Star for success in the future of search. This framework was created by Julian Lopez, who's one of the co-authors of the AEO Blueprint book. And he runs the team at AEO.co that does all this research. And what this comprises of is brand representation, authority, and indexability. And these are the three key areas. I'm going to break these up a little bit more so that you can get a better idea as to what this means. Starting with brand representation, what this means is that your brand, whether it's your company's brand or your personal brand, and I suggest focusing on your personal brand as well if you're not already, is where do you appear? Clearly, your website. Do you appear in news sites? Do you appear in other communities where you're active, directories, social, all those areas where you appear? The better, as long as you're doing useful work. And it's also important if you appear in those different areas. So, how well is your brand being represented? Bottom line. Now, that breaks up into these three layers, which is your brand reach. That's here at the bottom, brand reach. There's and that's again, how much does your brand reach? Do you reach international sites? Do you appear in those as an example? But what is your brand recognition? Are you recognized as a leader? Are you being talked about, mentioned, cited, quoted, things like that? And brand reputation. So these have very significant consequences as far as what your brand represents, basically how it scores. And it's a secret to AEO success. Now, the how much weight and volume does your brand have? That is the brand density. And the formula is reach times recognition over reputation. Because you can have a lot of reach, but if you have bad reputation, everyone is talking about you, just not in a nice way. Well, that's your brand density. It's going to be really dense, but in a bad way. So clearly, you don't want that. Because brand density is how visible and influential you are across different digital spaces. Let's see, let me move on. And this is so important because brand density builds authority. And that again means how visible and influential you are, that it's not about just being present, it's about being everywhere that actually matters. Show up with purpose, with being trusted, relevant, and consistent. And that the more you appear and are respected, the stronger your brand density becomes. And when it's strong, AI will know about you and will trust you. Now, indexability is the third area. So there was brand representation, authority, and indexability. So indexability is how well is your content linked to each other, and it has to be in an orderly fashion, basically. So here's an AI bot, there's a query, it comes to your brand. Your brand needs to link cleanly and clearly to the people behind it, the service, and the product that you provide. Now, there's this is structure on your platforms, your websites, and it needs to be linked correctly. If you make it easy for the AIs to read your content, then they will index you and you have a good relationship. So in the next section, and I'll come back to some of that, you'll hopefully it'll click at that point. But now let me take a step aside and come to what this, I talked about structuring content and can actually use. What does that look like? Earlier I said about food, you have to feed them what they like. Well, what you feed them is the content. And the structure of, let's say, your website or your other platforms, your social platforms, anything as your blogs, that content needs to be not just structured content that people see, structured cleanly, answer first, but it also needs to be structured internally on the code side of your website or other platforms. And this is where JSON comes in. JSON is the love language of AI schema. It's a schema markup language that AI loves, and this is what it understands. It doesn't really do that great with HTML or other ones, but JSON is really good and it's great for AEOifying your websites. So let me give you an example. I'm going to pull this up. An example of just what that looks like. Give me a second. I'll bring this in. What I'm doing is I'm showing you, there we go. I'm showing you from this website called, it's a validator website for schema. It's called schema.org. I use this all the time to test my schemas and to make sure that there's no errors, because the last thing you want is to get the attention of AI and then show it all these errors because the schema is broken, and then they'll say, well, forget you, I don't want to trust you. So it's very important that your schema be clean and error free. So this is my web page, the About AV page. I'm not clearly not going to go through this in any detail, but I want to show you so you can get an appreciation for just how much and how organized the content of your website has to be in machine language, or in language, obviously, that machines can understand. But this has, let's see, I think I already passed the part where the JSON starts. Oh no, there's a still style, and that has to do with formats and where it places it on your website and so forth. So more links, more meta here. Oh, this is still meta, but I want you to see script content or JSON language. Here it is, application LD plus JSON. From here on, it's all JSON language. So you define that this is a web page and who the owner is and where the logo is, all this stuff. You have to basically feed it exactly precise information. What this person, that's me, that I'm the same one in these other pages, in my LinkedIn, so that it knows you're the same one. I've got the right person. You can't show up in one place. It can't, there's so many Adriana Vellas. So it needs to know exactly which Adriana Vella of the many Adriana Vellas. Just look it up on Google. There's a lot of Adrian, or on LinkedIn. There's a lot of Adriana Vellas. So I give it the exact location so that it knows, oh, you're that one Adriana Vella. And other locations as well, things that I know about. There's just so much in here, articles where I've shown up or that I've been reading, or reviews. Those are all good things. And that I run this organization. So enough about this for right now. That is Jason. I actually really like this only because it brings me back to my roots of when I used to be a developer many decades ago. And I had such a great time, but at some point I decided to leave engineering and go into the business side. And all my buddies would make fun of me and telling me that I was going to the dark side. But I've enjoyed my journey. It's taken me to so many places and fruitful areas of skill and knowledge and in growth. Anyway, enough about me on that. Let me move forward. Here's what AI would look at when your data is not structured correctly, both on the human facing side where you can read it, which means the answer first, but also internally. If it's not structured right internally with the code nested in the right way, hierarchically, it will look at your data as unstructured. And this is what it looks like. It looks for structured data that's easy to follow, because AI doesn't want to waste time looking through every last bit of detail that you have. It doesn't care about, it just cares to find the right answer. If you make it easy for AI to find the right answer, you're doing well. And speaking of some differences here, I received this. This was also in the Q&A, but someone sent me this saying, now I am more confused than ever, and I get it. I think a lot of people would feel confused. I removed the owner, the author of this framework. And this framework is proposing that this is what will make AI first search great in 2026, or saying, what will it make it great? And it says this. I'm going to break these two sections so that you can see it a little bit more clearly. Now, the first thing that you may notice is that there is a lot of SEO here. SEO, LLM answer SEO, authority brand and SEO, platform SEO, and it's everywhere. So it doesn't necessarily, I understand, I can interpret it, but here's the problem, that it implies that you have to do every single one of these steps. Here, that you have to do every single one of these steps in order to achieve topic domination. Uh, and that you would start with traditional SEO. Well, that's the fallacy here. Life doesn't start and end with traditional organic search, at least not anymore. Those days, even looking into the future, those days might soon be over. You can't ignore behavioral trends that have been growing at lightning speeds. And that's the reason that they're growing, that people don't want to start here. They don't want to start there. So, what I recommend is focusing on AI search optimization, which is through AEO, and then becoming that answer in AEO terms for the different LLMs. So all of these other things are embedded in the AEO practice. Even your platform, here it says platform SEO, rank inside. You have to rank inside YouTube, LinkedIn, and Medium in order to achieve platform SEO. That is not the case, because AI doesn't look for rankings. AI looks for, are you relevant to the query? So again, I wanted to clarify this. I hope that helps if you've seen it or if you have the question. Um, in case you wonder, Google SGE, this stands for Search Generative Engine. Now, Search Generative Engine is a policy level or a system level policy from Google. That is what it would use in their rater, the ones that rate guidelines. And it basically at its job, but it's not a front facing or product or feature or anything like that. It's basically an internal policy. And the other term that is in here is SERPs. SERP stands for Search Engine Results Page. And this is what you see a lot of times nowadays, where you're getting a page, you do a query, you get a page, and you see the sort of a quick answer to what it is, like, well, what's this term? And it'll give you a quick answer, but then it'll give you all the bunch of links. Sometimes it'll give you some other windows on the side, and that might reference the authorship or something like that. But enough of that. The second part of that one pager is breaking this down into GEO, AEO, and AIO. It doesn't mean that it's incorrect, but it's confusing when it looks like, well, you have to do all of this, and then you do all of this, and then you do this. In a sense, that's true, but let me put it in perspective that I think might be easier. GEO is all about the correct structure, and it's not about necessarily the structure of the content itself from a human facing perspective. There is some of that, but it's really the content or the structure of the websites, the internal structure. And that this is all about having the correct structure. And that's good. Now, remember I said that AEO is a practice. It's not a structure or a feature. It is a practice of having answer engine optimization. And there's, of course, a lot of details to that. And this is just a very high level summary. But all of GEO is encompassed in the practice of AEO. So there's no real need in having all these parallel terms as if you have to do one and you have to do the other. That just confuses people. And the AIO is all about just correct automation. So if you have a good structure on your website internally, if you have good practices in organizing the content, you are going to achieve what you want to. You're going to achieve becoming the answer that AI is looking for. And that's great. And you want to do that before you automate. Otherwise, if you don't have the right things, why add automation? All it does is amplify all the bad things that you have. So I wouldn't do any automation or worry about this until you have all the basics in place. Everything is running the way it should. Enough of that. But let's do some level setting at this point. Here's the truth that nobody really talks about. Yes, it's true that organic traffic could drop by 18% to 64% for businesses that fail to adapt AI-driven search. But AI, let's keep in mind that there's two types of answer engines. There's the answer engines that are trained and closed engines. They're your own LLMs, and they are just focused on providing answers for a particular area or industry or what have you, right? And that's all it's going to do. It just works off of the trained data, not outside data. That's the real-time LLMs and or answer engines, and they pull fresh content from the web. Real-time engines rank by relevance, trust, and freshness. So you want to be able to do that if you want to stand a chance of becoming the answer that AI is looking for. This is your best shot at visibility, but only if you AEOify. And if you don't, AI won't see you. You'd be practically invisible. So that's fine. But the truth that nobody really talks about here is that even though, let's say you just say, I just want to AEOify, I'm going to forget about SEO. It's like, well, no, you don't want to really do that either. Remember the quote at the beginning that show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome from Charlie Munger? Well, from a brain science perspective, where I have a lot of training on, It is about the motivations and driving forces at hand. So think about the example, the searching for a recipe. And traditional SEO search rewards content owners for how long a person stays on your site. They assume then that you stayed on the site because you really enjoyed the content. I have to tell you, I've had to search for recipes before, and I did not enjoy the kind of having to go through paragraphs and paragraphs, pages of scrolling through all this and sifting through all this content about the origin or how many generations this recipe has been in my family and how great it makes my house smell when I cook it. All I don't care about that. I just want the recipe. I want to look at the recipe to see if I have the ingredients or if it's going to take too many ingredients and it's too complex and maybe I don't want to use it. But I want to see that first. And so I end up getting a lot of links. I go through that and I end up being Alice in Wonderland pretty much again. So AEO rewards that. Keep that in mind because you don't want to ignore that. And I'll show you some tricks as far as how you can get around that and be able to feed the two monsters, if you will, SEO and AEO. But let's see. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at some speaking notes to make sure that I keep this on time. So remember this graph that I showed earlier in which it has to be relevant sources. If I'm looking for a recipe of this, I'm just looking for the recipe, nothing else. So give me that first. And again, I'll show you some tips on how to work with that situation. But let me make this point that right now, despite having strong rankings, some major brands have seen their traffic decline significantly. We have news and media sites, their drop of traffic has dropped 40 to 79%. Sites like SaaS and e-commerce sites, their traffic has dropped 10 to 40%, and the information sites 20 to 60% drop. So it doesn't matter if you're ranked really high in SEO. The traffic will not get there as long as people are using AI to do the searches if your sites are not structured correctly. Now, I will spill the beans on who some of these are, just because you know the names. CNN is one of the news medias. HubSpot's another major publisher. Well, HubSpot, if you go to their site, now they're touting AEO all the way and have all these articles. They even created their own little, let's say, assessment of your site. I've looked at it. You can ask me questions about that, but not a subject for right now. And here, by contrast, I want to show an excellent example of how to be AEO strategic. This is a post from Facebook that I received, and the name of the user is Recipes Alina. Right from the get-go, it's very, very relevant. Recipes. So if I'm looking for a recipe, say, ooh, recipes. And her brand name, it ties it to a person, Alina. So somewhere else, Alina has been advised very well and has gone off and made sure that she established those connections, those links properly structured within her sites. But look at the first thing, just the title of what it is and the ingredients, followed by a beautiful picture. Right off the bat, ooh, I want that. I like this. I can see that the ingredients are pretty simple and it's gorgeous. It looks very fancy. This is the way that I will serve it. The very first comment on it is the full list of ingredients and the instructions. What else could I want? I don't have to be pouring through all sorts of long verbiage about a recipe. I just want the recipe. People are busy and you're busier than ever. And anyway, there still is communities that would like to read about the finer aspects or historical aspects of a recipe, and that's perfectly fine. But there's more and more people moving in this direction. And you saw 77% of people are using AI for search. So let's look at the strategic advantage of AEO for leaders and consultants. So at this point, though, you may already be thinking, what does AI see when it looks at my business? So in a few minutes, I will show you how to get clarity on that. But for now, let's go deeper. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you some very strong tips or advice on how to position yourself for the future. What are the things that are important? Well, first of all, understanding that AEO is not a trend. It is the new foundation of digital presence. You need to understand that search itself is being rewritten in terms of how it's done. Google is making a lot of changes, has been, and will continue to. Authority is being redistributed from those that had the number one links to those that are more organic and can talk to AIs. That you want to be able to embrace that. Being included in the answer is now more valuable than being that top blue link. And that visibility is being mediated by systems that reward clarity, structure, and expertise. And here is so the good news about that is yes, it's moving really fast. I made the jokes about 2 years ago, it was like ages ago. It's going to continue to move fast, but here is estimated LLMs versus organic search or traditional search. The blue is traditional search. You can see that it continues to go down. It has been going down. And the combination of LLM searches is the green line. You can see that we're right here at the very end of 2025, and it continues to move up and up. What you want to do is take action sooner than later because at this point, it's still a land grab with respects to positioning yourself as the leader in a category that where you are the strongest. But those categories are that are understood and clear and so are going to be taken up. Again, like I said, it's a land grab. If you don't move fast and you wait until the following years, you may not be able to really carve your leadership position. It is the time now where you can create a moat and if you AOify yourself. And this has a lot to do with your ability to own your brand. And it sounds easier than it really is, but anybody who has done branding work and how do you position it is one of the hardest things to get done and something is very difficult to do also on your own. So I offer that part of branding yourself, which of course then feeds into brand representation, reputation, and the authority that you build from there is a framework that helps you build that is called EAT, EEAT. And I'm going to break that down for you in a little bit, but in short, it stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. And this is something to definitely pay a lot of close attention and use it as your framework to build yourself, because doing so will help you win the zero click future. And that zero click future is again, not going through all those links. It is getting the answer quickly. And you want to be able to get there and make it natural, like breathing. So for a lot of several tips that I have published are in this blog post called Your Brand is Being Judged by AI First. Here's how AEO can put you back in control. It's in the markettechnexus.com/blog webpage. And even Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, was interviewed, and he said that we are headed towards a UI-less web. No more need for any mice, keyboards, or monitors. Very Star Trek-ish. And what would Star Trek do? They would just speak out what they needed, or there was no screens. They didn't ask for that. It was all voice. So yes, even today already, there's the voice factor in AI. We've had it already for a while with Google Maps and Hey Google and Siri and Alexa. We had that already. But when it comes to AI search, this is one of the hottest things. And so much so that there is specific schema, specific JSON language for voice that is different from the rest. And that's why, because 55% of people under 25 use or prefer voice. 41% of all adults favor voice. Voice is growing at 200% plus year over year. So that's why it's very important. Let me now switch gears to how AEO accelerates visibility faster than traditional AEO. I'm going to do a plug because I'm here and it's relevant. At my website, we have done for you services, and which we just launched this year. There is an AEO and digital visibility services. And one of the things that is key and primary and a great way to start is with an AEO audit. This is the page right below the header. But there's other services that we provide, developing the schema, making sure it's compliant, optimizing, doing voice and search optimization as well. We can train your teams. We can develop specifically AEO content and calibrate the content that you already have. Continuous monitoring in AI integration or trend integration, because as things change, you want to be able to change your systems as well. Neuromarketing refinement sessions, because this is focused on influence, quarterly reports. So of course, I'm not going to go into that in detail, but there is so much to AEOifying, but who can afford not to do these things, especially the way things are going. So I want to show you a brief example of, I'm going to do a fast example of this report, which is the AEO audit report. Oops, no, not that. It is a PDF. Here we go. Oh, let me take it back to the top. So these are the contents of the AEO audit report. I did this for a company that I wanted to do it just as a curiosity, because the company is someone who said, no, I don't need this right now, or my clients don't need this right now. So I thought they either don't really understand at all what it is, or they're thinking that they don't need it. But let me show you what this person who doesn't need it, what the results were. So you get an executive summary. It identifies your niche, your target customers, business model, classification, key messages, why those matter, the key gaps, purpose of the report, explains that. Then it goes into the section of AI search reality. So what is your disability audit conceptual? And it has the findings. It basically says this is not all 100% exact, because there's a lot of knowledge that it doesn't have, because I'm doing it completely from the outside. But it's got different findings, schema, structured data, none apparent from the source scan. Domain appears relatively small and new in the broad fractional COO operations outsource space. Social proof and white recognition branding positioning appear limited compared to well-known fractional COO firms. So it's pointing out where you're not meeting good expectations, but I want to make sure that yes, you are seeing the live one. Moving forward, you also get this strategic customer queries. It tells you queries from the perspective of someone who is problem aware, solution aware. They're doing a comparison, or it's coming from the implementation perspective. And so again, they're very targeted queries, decision stage types of queries, and adjacent or upsell kind of queries. Then it gives you, and this is so cool, competitive landscape. who are your competitors and why they are your competitors, or in what areas in particular are they competing? It may not be 100%, it might be some division that they have or whatever, but they're your competitor. It lists the company and it lists basically what they're doing right or in which area they're competing. Then you get a visibility score. It assigns numbers based on the number of queries and so forth. It gives you the score, and there are 18 of those queries that were done. Yep, here they are. And now there's the calculation, the approximate totals, the interpretation of that, result, and the conclusion. But there's still more value on this, and that is the financial reality, which is the opportunity cost. It lays out what the assumptions and benchmarks are for the formulas. It calculates this and it gives you limited caveats, but then it tells you this is the competitive domination breakdown, why the top competitors win. This is so incredibly valuable. You really grasp how invaluable this is. It tells you what are your competitors doing right? Basically, why are they kicking your butt? And so if I know what are they doing right that I'm not, it's like, oh, now I get it. And you start doing the right things or start upping them. But it's areas, so the patterns, entity presence and brand, earned media, thought leadership, structured data and SEO fundamentals, content architecture, social proof and testimonial. So this is golden because, wow, so these are the things I can focus on and you can prioritize. And it gives you what success looks like and what the next steps are for you to follow. And then a conclusion. So I don't know about you, but this is amazing. It's fantastic. And we offer this. So I hope you will take a look. But like I said, I do have a surprise for you. And so let me move into this last section because this is going to have some practical steps that you can follow today that are actionable. The future belongs to brands that AI recognizes, and I want to help you get there. So let me get started. The first thing that you want to do is adopt the concept of grounded content. Grounded means that it is in AEO structure. So, how you write your content. This is, again, the person facing content, not the content that's inside your websites. All right, the JSON. That needs to be structured as well. But right now, I'm talking about the human visible content. And grounded doesn't, it's not like, oh, you're down to earth. No, grounded is grounded in structure. Just want to make sure I clarified that. So here's what AEO requires of content: that it be up to date and fresh, that it's content rich, that it's clearly structured, quality over quantity, ease of use, it's easy for AI to parse, and that it's written with the answer up front. That's what it requires. And if you follow these rules, if you will, or requirements, you're going to be doing better. The other thing that you want to do is really distinguish between the SEO food and AEO food. Again, I've been having a lot of references to food, I know. So the post needs to be structured in the right, that you need to feed the post as the right food. It takes less computing power for AEO because it's easy to access. It doesn't want to waste, I mean, it knows better, it doesn't want to waste a lot of extra processing to read through lengthy content that is not relevant. So, in that sense, I guess I have a lot in common with AI in that, but I'm sure many of you do too, if you're in business and you're busy. The other thing is, well, does that mean what you want to do is provide both? Because SEO is not gone, it'll still be in there and it will evolve into something different than traditional, but it's not necessarily going to go away. It's just you can't depend on it solely, and investing in it is not what I would recommend in terms of ranking and paid ads and so forth. I hope they don't get mad at me because I'm saying those things. But in terms of providing both, wait a minute. My reaction when I heard that was, wait, that means I have to do double work now? No, no, no. I will show you that you don't have to do double the work because you can take the content and just make some modifications. Take a long version of the content. Let's say the recipe again. Bring the recipe to the front and have the rest be supplementary, or just take it out, just get the real meaningful, just the instructions, and then use the other content that you already created and repackage it slightly different so that it is for the people who want to read in more detail and it does satisfy SEO. So that's what you want to do. And then, since I talked about food, let me now get into eat. EEAT. Now, I think I mentioned earlier that this was Google first brought this up as part of Google's quality rater guidelines and policy level framework, again, back in 2014. At the time, it was only EAT, which was experience, authority, and trustworthiness. Experience I'm sorry, it was expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Experience was only added in 2022. Yes, I know, a long time ago. But at its heart, EEAT is about answering four simple questions that every customer is asking. It really ends up boiling down into the how and why about your content. So it is aligning who you are, that you have experience, and then that you can, and you're an authority and you can be trusted. So here's sort of the general rules of thumb for each one of those to keep in mind. So experience answers, have you actually done this? Have you been in the trenches? Have you used the product yourself? People crave this kind of authority that only comes from real world lived firsthand experiences. So it's important to be able to show this proof and that it's not just theory. For expertise, you want to show that you know your stuff, right? So do you know your stuff? What makes you qualified to give advice? Would you trust me if I was giving you medical advice when I'm not a medical professional and don't have that training? No, I don't take that advice. They can tell me about their experience, but that's different. So you want to be able to make sure that you have the credentials, the skills, and deep knowledge and have proven it somehow that you have the expertise. The next one is authoritativeness. Who else in the industry can validate for you? It's not enough for you to say that you're an expert. Who in the industry can vouch for you? Who are the respected voices that recognize you as a leader? This is in testimonials. This is where you've presented. Again, testimonials are strong in terms of in who your authority. Now, of course, if you have a testimonial from your mom, that's not necessarily going to make you an authority, but you know what I mean. All right. And the last one is trustworthiness. Why should I feel safe doing business with you? Are you transparent? Is your site secure? Can I easily find out who you are and how you operate? Will you be there if something goes wrong? These are critical questions to answer and to focus on demonstrating, especially with rampant fraud and scams. This is so critical that you want to be as transparent as possible. Do videos on your process, or again, videos are great, even though now those can be tempered with as well. But do your best, because this is very important. When you get to talk to people, they need to feel comfortable. They need to know that you trust them, because trust really is the new currency, and it can be the thing that completely makes or breaks your reputation. So everything that I've shown you so far involves the why and the what, but the real breakthrough is going to happen when you understand how AI sees your business. And here's the reason. So, how does it see your business? Most leaders assume that they might. Have you ever Googled yourself? I'm sure you have. That's how I know there's a lot of Adriana Velas out there. But they might assume that they know, but usually those leaders are wrong because they don't understand how it works, what it looks for, how it goes about it. And again, bias, blind spots happen all the time. And this is why I have available this AEO visibility audit. It is the fastest way to discover why your business is not showing up in AI engines and exactly how to fix it. And I'm offering this to this masterclass, and I will be offering it in other events, but only for a very limited time. But let me just share what you get. You get that customized 10-page audit report that I showed you, which has that visibility score and analysis, the AEO performance score, a breakdown of your content structure, trust and authority signals, clarity on what AI engines are likely to use and ignore, competitive domination breakdown, which are doing well, financial reality and opportunity cost model, the gaps, and how to overtake them and prioritize action plan. This is just a quick summary of that. I ran through a real life example, and but it is so rich in the content and so extremely valuable. And it is a lot of work because even though I use AI and this is an AI tool, there's still a lot of work that I have to do further validation and analysis and interpret because it's the human in the loop. I have to be able to see these are other things that I would also recommend. So, bottom line, this is normally $9.97 and I'm offering it for $5.97 here. And this is the QR code for that. I'm going to be offering and for those people who buy within 24 hours of watching this, they will also get that what I call the fast action bonus. We are in the middle of the holidays. I do want to be able to schedule my time. So I'm only limiting this to 20 buyers. You will get priority turnaround in 2 business days. You definitely want to hit the ground running in the new year. This is a value of $297. You get a mini AEO schema map for one of your key pages. You'll also get an AI ready content template pack. You'll also receive a masterclass replay access for 30 days. So this replay you only get for a week. So you'll get extra time on that. And you get a 30-minute report briefing session with me at a very high value. I'm not putting the dollar amount there, but you get this for free if you purchase the AEO audit in the next 24 hours. And there's the QR code again. So since this is not the live recording or live audience recording, I of course am going to skip that. I'm going to leave you with basically these last summary thoughts. AI tools prioritize direct, precise answers. If your business isn't optimized, you risk becoming invisible. There are two key AEO targets: citations, because they build trust, and brand mentions, because they boost your authority. And avoiding AEO today is like thinking that smartphones were just a fad, they came out. So I advise don't ignore it. And again, I have the offer of the AEO visibility audit. You're welcome to ask me questions, send me email. If you purchase within the 24-hour limit, the first 20 buyers will get the bonuses that I mentioned. I'm going to skip Q&A and I'm going to leave you with this thank you and wish you the best of holidays if you celebrate the Christmas holidays. I know I had registrants from different countries, and that's wonderful. Have a good end of the year. I hope that I get to talk to you again, and I'm off.